Sébastien Vachon Desjardins. Man, that is one of the most French-sounding names you can have. This gentleman has been sentenced to 20 years in prison, and the judge said, if you would have went to trial, I would have given you life. That's absolutely crazy. In my opinion, this is absolutely crazy for a non-violent crime, but it's not that crazy when you consider that for this hacker who was arrested and they seized $28 million in Bitcoin. So it was a ransomware hacker and $500,000 in cash from his house. Supposedly he did this in 10 months. This was a previous Canadian government employee. That's the fun part. He worked with NetWalker, a Russian group, and they targeted 17 Canadian organizations, anything from governments, companies, schools, whatever. And they got millions of dollars, obviously, because he had 28 million despite Bitcoin falling down. So this guy made a ton of money in a very short time, and he's sentenced to 20 years, 240 months in prison. And the judge said, you would have gotten more if you didn't plead guilty. Now, he did not give any evidence on his co-conspirators, and he did plead guilty. He did forfeit his money. So it wasn't just 17 companies and organizations and healthcare and whatever in Canada. There was 400 victims in 30 countries and at least $40 million in ransom that was able to be connected to NetWalker, 1/3 of which was connected to Sébastien. And of that, we know that there's potential for more attacks that weren't reported, and the sums could have been a lot higher. So this guy made a ton of money as a hacker, and probably a lot more than as an ethical hacker, but considering that he did it in such a short time, over his long-term 20, 30, 40-year career, he could have probably ended up making a lot more money, because he had definitely the expertise to make millions of dollars for companies if he was able to steal tens of millions of dollars in ransomware. They would infect computers and they would harvest data, and this was very private data from healthcare companies, from school districts, from governments, and that would be a huge blackmail kind of carrot that's dangled in front of whoever the victim was. Listen, if you don't give us the ransom, which could be hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, we're going to post it on the dark web, on NetWalker's blog, and in some cases, very, very private data was posted. So they made a lot of money. Obviously, it worked. But there's also, yes, he should be in prison. Yes, he was a menace to society. But the judge said, this was one of the worst cases I've ever seen of this type of crime. And this was essentially Jesse James meeting the 21st century. And this guy was a terrible human being and blah, blah, blah. Basically all that, which, again, I think he probably deserves a couple of years in prison. But you have people who are serving time for violent crimes. I was reading a news article about someone else today who did multiple violent crimes and has served less time, and with good behavior, they've been out after half the time. But this guy, no violent crime, didn't hurt anybody. Yes, financially they did. But outside of America, us Americans we're so confused because we constantly see these crazy sentences. And it's really unfair because some people get super long sentences, other people don't. It's very hypocritical, depends on who your lawyer is. By the way, this guy's Canadian. He was extradited to Florida for Tampa. Like, I don't know, he hacked into a computer, and for that reason they were able to extradite him. And don't attack any business, even if it's not in America. That is American, because you can get extradited and it's this whole messy process, and you are in for a ride, definitely, if you have to go to an American prison. It's a lot better than 90% of the prisons in the world, but there are definitely places, like if you were going to do this type of hacking, go to Germany, go to the Netherlands, go to Norway. There we go, perfect. You'll come out in 5 years and maybe still have some of your money, and you're going to go to a nice plush prison in Norway, and everything's going to be fine. In America, you could not come out. So again, it's crazy, these sentences that are being handed down, because I know people were running darknet marketplaces in the Netherlands, and they came out after 5-7 years, and they did a lot more, And you compare to DPR, Silk Road, and all that, getting 2 life sentences, and this guy getting 20 years for hacking companies. And I get it, it's a lot of money. That's a lot of Bitcoin, $20 million in Bitcoin, just chilling, $500,000 in cash. That's a lot of money. But the judge threatening life if he didn't plead guilty, the dude's in his 20s. Like, what are you talking about? That's crazy. Anyways, that's pretty much the video. He's still facing more charges, but he pleaded guilty to 4 charges. Look at the sky today. Oh man. That looks gorgeous. So, thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Love those clouds. Look at that. Wow.